y'all, what's up? My name is Shy. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can tell, the background is a little bit different today. We're still in the office. We're just seated at my desk. Because for those of you who don't know, I have a polymer clay shop on Etsy where I make earrings out of polymer clay. And I have an earring that I'm working on today. It's already out of the oven, so at this point all we need to do is clean, sanitize it, drill the holes, and then add the hardware to make it officially an earring. This is what it's going to look like once it's all put together. I'm not centered, but it's okay. You got the gist of that. So I figured we'd have a little sit down chat while I work on my earrings. So let's get into it. All right, y'all, so I got you all zoomed in. I feel like this is a pretty good angle for you to be able to see what I'm doing. You don't really need to see my face. Just listen to me talk. All right, so I saw a post on Threads the other day, and it really got me thinking. It's been on my mind since I saw it, but this individual was talking about their mental health journey and how they got to be to where they are today. And it got me thinking about my own journey and how I got to be where I am today. And I don't mean that in like a status point of view or classist point of view. What I mean by that is just being able to manage and function in life with everything that I have going on mentally. So I don't remember exactly when it started, but I just remember it was 2016. No, 15. And I was down in Orlando, Florida, or Lake Buena Vista, doing the Disney college program. And I had graduated from the program, but I had left early because of health issues. So I was a character performer, and I was literally like passing out like all the time. Like literally, I mean like going unconscious like all the time while I worked. And then I also had been diagnosed with rhabdomyolysis. If you don't know what that is, look it up. So I was in the hospital for a few days because of that. And then after that, I had to leave. Like they were like, yeah, you can't keep passing out all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I fully understand that. So I did graduate from the program and I got my certificate, but I left a little bit earlier than I had like originally intended. Just cleaning off the clay piece, any pieces of hair, clay that doesn't match the color that it's on, whatever like that makes it look dirty. We're gonna clean that up and get rid of that with 100% acetone. Okay, so I remember I came home from Disney back to Midland, PA, where I was raised. And I remember I was so depressed, because I felt like I was basically on cloud 9, and then I kind of just like fell off the cloud like hard because I was working at fucking Disney World, bro. And then I get like sick and then I can't work there anymore. So I was going through a lot physically, like just physically not feeling well. So I got really depressed. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, staying up all the time. And then it got really bad to the point, this clay piece is like really difficult to clean for some reason. Or it got bad to a point where I started to self-harm. And I don't remember how long that went on for, but if you've ever struggled with that, you know that like every day, or struggle with depression, you know that every day feels like a lifetime. Like it's like, oh, you wake up and you're like, oh my God, here we go, another day that I have to live and breathe. Like living seems like this annoying, tedious, unnecessary task, pretty much. It's a lot cleaner than it was. All right, so we're gonna clean the next one now. We're just gonna clean like all these pieces. Okay, so a few months go by, and then I end up, unfortunately, trying to unalive myself. Due to that, I went to the hospital and I got admitted to the psychiatric unit of the hospital. So like the 4th floor, I think they call it, of the hospital. Bro, when I say that was the most eye-opening experience I think I've ever had, I truly mean that. Like, that was the most humbling, scary, eye-opening 72 hours I did there. So 72 hours was the minimum amount of time that you had to do before you could be complete before you could be released. I did my 72 hours. I got the hell up out of there. I was like I was not trying to stay. Like that was just way it was too much. So I remember there was like 2 floors to the 2 units on that floor. And there was one side that was like a little bit more intense than the other. Let's call the tamer side the A side. Let's call the more intense side the B side. So I was on the A side. And I remember I walked in. So they had taken like everything from me, like my shoes, my clothes, my books, like obviously my phone, my headphones, just like everything. So I went up there, when I say with literally not shit, like I went up there with nothing. Except the clothes that they gave me, which is like a sweatshirt and sweatpants. And I remember the minute I got up there, because they rolled me in, they like took me in in a wheelchair. And I remember that I literally heard screaming, like someone screaming at the top of their lungs the minute I got up there. And that screaming went on for about the 48 hours of the 72 hours. And I was like, it was a lot, bro. And I felt I was just like, I had moments where I was like, how did I get here? Like, how did I end up here? And I remember specifically there would be nights, especially my first night that I got there, I was singing this song by Jonathan McReynolds. I don't remember the name of, I think The Way That You Love Me, that's what it's called, by Jonathan McReynolds. And I remember I would like sing myself to sleep, dude. Like literally sing myself to sleep all the nights that I was there. It was not a fun time. So 72 hours come up, I see like a psychiatrist and things like that. I get released from the hospital. And then I go home. Once I'm home, I actually start to like progress. Like I'm working out, I'm actually eating. I was put on medication that really made a significant impact in my recovery, mentally and physically. So I definitely want to credit that. Second one is done now, so now we're gonna move on to the third and the fourth one. Definitely want to give some credit to where it's due. I decide to go back to school. So I went to IUP. I began in 2016. I had actually did a year at Slippery Rock, and then I took a year off, did the Disney College program, went transferred to the Indiana University of Pennsylvania. So that's where I went to school, and I was doing okay. Like mentally I was doing okay, but I started to notice in my my mental health would be in waves. So I would feel like I'm on cloud 9, like living life, getting all my work done, hanging out with friends, eating well, exercising for like 3 weeks, maybe a month. And then for 2 months, I would feel like shit. Like I would be depressed. I couldn't do anything, couldn't get out of bed, was late to class, couldn't get my work done. And then all of a sudden I would wake up, like legit, wake up on a random Tuesday and my mind would be flipped. And I would be back on cloud 9 again. And when I say cloud 9, I'm like, I was so ambitious. Like I would like start all these new projects, and I would like make new friends, and I'd want to go out on a Friday night, and I want to like start like a Instagram page for like fitness. I wanted to do like all these things. All of a sudden I would just wake up with like all these ideas, all this motivation. You couldn't stop me. But literally it would just flip like a switch. So I would be depressed for like 2 months and then wake up, like I said, on a random Tuesday and have all this motivation in the world to like enjoy life. And I did enjoy life. So this is me enjoying my best life, as I stated, in college. There is no audio because we do not want to get copyrighted, but $10 to the person who can recall what song this dance goes to. Life, and I loved it, and I was like just living and everything. And I started to notice that there was like a pattern happening. And that was like in 2000 and maybe like 19 maybe, I started to notice that there was like a little bit of a pattern going on. I'm like, okay, why do I feel like this for a few weeks and then for 2 months I can't get out of bed or I can't do anything? I started to notice a pattern within myself. So I brought it up. I remember, I will never forget, I texted my sister one morning when I woke up and I was getting ready for class. I'm like, hey, like, I wish I still had the text messages to show you guys, but I was just like, yo, like, I think there's something going on with me. Like, I noticed that, like, I basically explained my pattern. And my sister was like, yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but I noticed that about you too. She's like, I actually noticed that about you too, but I just didn't know how to, like, say it, or I didn't want to say anything. We're going to switch the angle for y'all. All right, so I decided to do some research because, you know, as you know, when you're in college, for most majors, that's the majority of what you're doing is research. So I did some research on my own, and all the roads pointed to bipolar disorder. So I was like, shit, maybe I have bipolar disorder. But I was so in denial that I just, like, ignored it. I was like, no, because I felt shame around it. And why I felt shame around it, honestly couldn't tell you. I was just like, no, I don't have that. Like, that's not me. There must be something else going on. Like, but I knew deep down in my heart, like, that's exactly what I had. But but I just, like, I didn't want to deal with that. I didn't want to face it. I was in true, like, denial about it. Alright, so I finished getting the blemishes off of the earrings, and now we are going to put it in some soapy water to wash off the acetone, because as you know, acetone has a really strong smell, and we don't also want that to just remain on the earring. I got in a relationship, I don't remember what year, but 2020 I was in that relationship, and I talked to my partner about it, and we both decided that it was best if I went ahead and saw a psychiatrist. Alright, so I remember it was 2020, I want to say. Yeah, and I had made an appointment with a psychiatrist with this guy in the town that I was residing in. And I went and I explained to him all my symptoms, and he was like, yeah, you have bipolar disorder. And he put me on the medication for it. I was so pissed off. I was so mad. I was like, this dude doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Da, da, da. Like, I don't have that. Knowing good and well that I did. That I definitely did. So he prescribed me this medicine. I don't remember the name of it, but this one of those things, like, if I see the name, I'd be like, yeah, that was it. But just off the top of my head, I don't remember the name. So he prescribed me medication. I took it for, like, less than a month because every time I took it, I got sick to my stomach. And I know a lot of medications are like that when you first start taking them. You feel ill, you feel dizzy, your stomach feels queasy, whatever. But it made me so sick that I was like, yeah, I'm not taking this. This guy is trying to kill me. Like, I don't know. like, I'm not taking this shit. So I didn't. And so I was on that medication for like a month, and then I stopped taking it. So I was still struggling at this time severely with, like, suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety, like, all of these things. Alright, so I just cleaned off these little, or I just removed the blemishes from these little hexagons. Yeah, okay. I know those what they are. So we're going to take this sandpaper now, and we are going to sand the back of the hexagons so that it's like a smooth, even surface when you touch it. I think it was January 2021. Me and my girlfriend at the time broke up, and I had decided to move to Pittsburgh March of that year. I'm meeting new people, I'm hanging out, like, and everything, but I'm still struggling mentally. And it wasn't until June of that year where everything just completely went to shit. Like since super fast, because I got assaulted, I believe in May of that year that I moved. Yeah, May of that year that I moved to Pittsburgh. And that was, think of it in my head and I reflect on it as that was like the turning point. That was like when everything just immediately went left. I did not know how to properly, I don't want to say properly, I just didn't know how to cope with something like that happening to me, because I felt like I was a strong, independent Black woman. Like, things like that don't happen to me. Like, that's for weak people, da da da. So I didn't deal with it. Like, I just like kind of like pushed it in the back of my mind. I was working 4 jobs at the time, and I was completely able to just like keep myself so distracted that I didn't deal with it. But it was to the point where like I couldn't be home. I didn't want to look in the mirror, so I constantly just stayed constantly busy so that I didn't have time to sit and reflect on the fact that I was dealing with this. Like, the people that I didn't tell knew something was up because my energy was just off. And people tend to describe me as bubbly. Don't know why. I don't feel like I'm bubbly, but I do feel like I have a lot of energy, but I don't feel like I'm bubbly. But people who didn't know the story knew that something was off. My life was like literally spinning out of control. I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And then I ended up in a rehabilitation center that fall. While I was in Pittsburgh, I was seeing a therapist via Zoom, but this therapist was like not for me at all. And I would like miss appointments and just be late to appointments and everything like that, to the point where they sent me a letter saying that I was basically like dismissed from being able to have services anymore because I had missed so many appointments and just been late. Didn't even know you could get dismissed from therapy, but I got dismissed from therapy. Something that I do whenever I sand a piece is I take some Vaseline and I put it on the parts that I sanded, and then I wash it off. Because if you sand a piece and don't apply Vaseline and wash off after, it creates this, like, you can't see it because the piece is white, but if the piece was red or blue, it creates this white shadowy film on it. Only way to get it off, Vaseline, and then wash it off. Come out of rehab with like this whole new state of mind. Like, my perspective on my health, my God, like everything has shifted. Like, I learned more about how to live life in those 30 days in treatment than I learned in all my 20 something years of living. And I truly mean that. Honestly, going there was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. So, and I'm like super, super grateful that I'm not grateful for everything that led me up to that point, obviously, but I'm grateful that I got to open my mind enough and my heart enough to be able to change my perspective on life, is the way that I'll put it. And I truly believe if I hadn't gone there, I wouldn't have the perspective on life that I do today. And I wouldn't feel, I just wouldn't be mentally where I am today. I get out of treatment and I'm literally on what they call the pink cloud. When I get out of treatment, I'm like feeling like nothing can touch me. I'm so determined and ambitious. I'm taking nature walks without my phone so I can be more connected to nature. Like, I was doing all that shit. And I'm actually kind of grateful for that pink cloud, even though I'm definitely no longer on it. But I'm grateful for that because that's what made me so determined to get a therapist and a psychiatrist when I got out of treatment. And for the first time, I had a black therapist. So that was the first time I had a black doctor, period. I was so happy about that. I was able to relate to her on so many different levels. She was just amazing all the way 360 around. And then my psychiatrist was also a woman, and she was amazing. So like I said, I was determined to get some help mentally. I got some help mentally, and that's when I got diagnosed for the second time. I got diagnosed for the second time with bipolar disorder. And this time I actually was like ready to accept it. Like, I knew through going to treatment that like I had this and I needed help, and the only way that I was going to get better is if I was willing and able to receive help and admit that my brain doesn't function like normal, and that's okay. Y'all, so now it's time to put holes in the earring pieces so that we can attach jump rings to them so that they hang like an earring. We have our Dremel here that we're going to use, and we have a small little box. And this box is what I use to put the clay piece on and then drill my holes. Because if you take it and you just drill a hole while you're holding it, the earring piece is gonna fly everywhere, hit your ceiling, and you're gonna lose your earring. So you wanna get like a small, or it can be a big box, it don't matter, but something to put the clay pieces on so they go zoo, and you drill the hole right down, and it helps keep everything steady. So the big question, how do I live and manage with bipolar disorder? Honestly, first things first, taking my meds. There's a big difference between me having bipolar disorder and being medicated, and me having bipolar disorder and going untreated. I can see a big difference in just the ability to be able to function day to day. No wonder it's on the right speed. Like that. Here's what it looks like with the hole drilled in. My second thing is, honestly, and I learned this in treatment, just doing what you're supposed to do. So I know that every day I'm supposed to take my meds, I'm supposed to drink water, I'm supposed to work out, I'm supposed to eat, get outside in the sun, socialize. These things keep me functioning like a normal person. Like, I know sometimes we get down, we get sad, things happen in life that are unfortunate and tragic. But if I isolate myself, I don't eat, I don't go to the gym, I don't talk about the way I'm feeling, then I'm literally setting myself up for failure. And I'm setting myself up to kind of like relapse in the progress that I've made mentally and emotionally and physically and spiritually. This isn't to be mistaken as like everything's peaches and creams now, because I definitely have moments and days where I struggle immensely. Like, there are moments where I do things and I say things, I'm like, that was definitely my bipolar disorder. That was not something that I should have said or done, or just though. It's mainly, the biggest thing that I struggle with is like a shift in my attitude and in my energy for no apparent reason. Or like another thing that I struggle with is, and I know it's my bipolar disorder, but people probably without bipolar disorder struggle with this too, but like noises and sounds that people make disturb me so much. Like, if I hear someone like chewing, or like something's clicking, or like snoring, like all like noises that people make send me off the edge. And it shouldn't, but it does, bro. Like, I get so, it's like I can hear the noise like magnified. So if someone's making a little like chomping noise, it's all that I can focus on. Like, it's like my brain and my ears zoom in on the noise, and that's all that I hear, and I get so agitated by it. Or sometimes even like if I'm just chilling, like sometimes just even like loud voices, and I'm loud as hell, so it's like I know like I shouldn't be having this type of response to these things, but I do. And like I said, I think that it's attributed to that, but it could, honestly, like I said, people without bipolar disorder could be bothered by noises and sounds and have shifts in energy as well. It's just mine. What's going on with this? It's just that mine, there we go, is a little bit more drastic. Don't look cute. So if I had any advice to someone who thought that maybe they have bipolar disorder or anxiety or anything that they're struggling with, one is, you are not by yourself, so don't feel ashamed. You're not the only person on earth to ever struggle and tussle with these feelings, this up and down, this sadness, this madness, this anger. Like, you are not the only person to struggle with that. So there's no reason to feel ashamed. The only shame is in not seeking help. That's what someone told me once. If you're going to be ashamed of something, be ashamed of that. But don't be ashamed of what you have going on, because you're not the only person that have it going on. Number 2, get some help. Get some help, especially if you have insurance and you have the financial ability to be able to get help, professional help. Definitely seek it out. And if you don't, try to reach out to people who are close to you, who you know will take what you're saying seriously, whether that is family, friends, your chosen family, whoever it may be. Do not keep what you're going through just up in here. You will literally go crazy. And number 3, take care of yourself physically. Drinking water, exercising, getting outside in the sun, taking a walk, something. Because I know personally, when I don't take care of myself physically, it starts to affect me mentally. So if I feel like shit, then I feel like I look like shit, and then I act like a piece of shit. Like it's just like a ongoing cycle. So make sure that you are taking care of yourself physically. I can't decide if I should use gold hardware or silver. What would look better with the colors is the question. I'm gonna use the gold. Comment below if you think that it would look better with the silver hardware. Alright, so you're gonna have these 2 different types of pliers. This is to hold the jump ring, and this is to secure it. So this one, as you see, is barely opening and closing. That's because I got so much glue on it and shit that I won't open and close. So don't do as I do as I say. Get 2 different types of pliers. For this case, I'm going to use just this one plier in my hand. Take your jump ring and you're gonna just stretch this down a little bit so that it's open. We're gonna take our earring, put it through there like so. We're gonna take the top of our hexagon, turn it upside down so that it hangs properly, and put it through there. Then we're gonna take it and we're just gonna close the jump ring like that, and then you have an earring, girl. But you gotta add your post on the back with glue. But you got an earring, girl. What do y'all think? How's it look? If you want a more in-depth video, like an actual like how-to tutorial video on how I either make my pieces or how I wash, clean, add the hardware, whatever it is, just drop a comment down below and I can do that. Alright y'all, so that was the end of the video. If you stuck around to the end, like I said before, you're a real one and I love you. So thanks for tuning into my video. Drop some comments below on what you want to see in future videos. That really helps me out. Other than that, remember to always believe in yourself and do the next right thing. I love you guys. Bye.